Alrighty, so this is probably the most anticipated news of the week episode I've done in quite some while because we know what happened yesterday. We know that Lionel Messi is going to be coming to MLS and going to be playing for Inter Miami, but what we still don't know exactly is how the contract is going to look. And right now, there's been numerous sources that talks about exactly how the contract is going to work and the amount is going to do. And I won't really quite mention it because depending on what sources, they're throwing different numbers out there. Either way, it's probably going to be the most expensive contract that we've seen any player has ever done in MLS. Even more expensive than when David Beckham came into the league back in 2007. But one thing I kind of want to mention about part of the contract that Lionel Messi is going to get when he joined Inter Miami is the fact that he is going to have the backings of Apple TV and Adidas, and that there's been numerous sources saying that Apple TV and Adidas are going to be part of this deal. They're going to be providing this as a sweetener as part of Messi's contract negotiation, and this is not a big surprise. I mean, I feel like for Apple TV, they kind of saw this coming with the way that after during this incoming season where they splash a huge amount of money to get the broadcast rights for all of these MLS games, that they're hoping that Messi will also come, and that of course will help them in terms of increasing the revenue and viewership that they have. And I know Apple TV so far they haven't released the viewership number and also the rating and also the subscription number of their MLS season pass. Something tells me it's probably not that good right now. And I think this, as much as Messi coming to MLS is definitely a game changer and it's a watershed moment for MLS, it's equally a watershed moment for Apple TV. Like this is something that they've been desperately needed because now for all the people who want to watch Messi play, they have to get Apple TV to be able to watch these MLS game and watch these Inter Miami games that Messi of course will be playing. So that's definitely going to help them in terms of the revenue and the viewership. And again, yeah, I mean it's not a big surprise that Apple TV and Adidas are involved in this, and that in some way I think Apple TV must have offered something ridiculous amount in order lure Messi to the league, because again, as much as it is a la- landscape moment for the league, it's also a huge moment for Apple TV too. Now, that being said, sticking with the Messi situation, it looks like Inter Miami is now once again linked with everybody. So that there's that jokes about how Inter Miami seems to be linked with everyone when they came into the league. Well, it's back because now it seems like they're basically linked with every single former teammate of Lionel Messi, guys like Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, and even Angel Di Maria, his an Argentine uh, teammate, is linked with coming to Inter Miami. And there's definitely multiple sources are saying that Inter Miami is definitely trying to build a super team, and maybe the league is going to trying to at least give them a little bit of a benefit of doubt in terms of the whole DP rules. I mean, it's pretty obvious that if they decided to sign every single former teammate of Messi that is Inter Miami, it's not going to work because of the whole DP rule. But Don Gabbard is going to try to make an exception of it. Now, obviously, if that does happen, then all of a sudden, I think Inter Miami may be painted as the most hated team in MLS right now because yeah, you don't want to see a super team. That's why when we see in other leagues, especially the NBA, that is when we see like super team that is being built, they always are heavily target and fans are started to hate them. And this is why in MLS, as much as I know there's been that discussion of whether or not if the league eventually has to get rid of the salary cap because it's been a setback for these teams to compete not only in MLS but in continental competition. At least it creates some parity within the league, and that again, I will also say with this is that out of all the players that I've mentioned that is linked with Inter Miami, Sergio Busquets is probably the closest one. There's been already talks about Sergio Busquets potentially coming to MLS. I mean, this is even before when all this talk of Messi coming to Inter Miami. I mean, there's been talk for a long time that Busquets was coming to Inter Miami, and I think that's probably the closest in terms of him coming to Inter Miami. But don't be surprised again. They're linked with everyone. They're gonna try to build almost like a Barcelona from 2015 Inter Miami to compete in the league, and it should be very interesting to see how it's going to go. I mean, as I said before, when Messi does come to MLS and with Inter Miami, I think it will definitely at least help this team to get themselves out of the bottom of the standings and maybe get themselves into playoff contention, but they still need a whole lot more to try to get themselves to be really contenders of the Eastern Conference. Now, Inter Miami also is in negotiation with Tata Martino as their next manager, and again, this is not a big surprise because this was one the first name that I mentioned when Phil Neville was fired. That it seems like Tata Martino is potentially going to return to the league and coach in MLS, and what a team to do so than Inter Miami with the way that you got all these stars named, just like when he coached with Atlanta with the likes of Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron and all those star player with it in the league, and that yeah, I think with the way how this is, and also especially the interesting thing about Tata Martino is that he also was a former Barcelona manager. So yeah, it seems like Inter Miami is going really hard on the Barca roots of how they built this team, and that yeah, overall I think it could be a good hiring, considering he has had that success with Atlanta United. Although Atlanta fans are going to be even more bitter right now. I mean, they're already bitter about Joseph Martinez going to Inter Miami, but they'll probably be even more bitter the fact that now they took their old head coach that won them the MLS Cup back in 2018. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and as much as I want to spend the entire news of the week video talk about Lionel Messi, keep in mind there was also other news that has happened, and it's unfortunate that this news could have been a big news if the Messi news didn't broke out yesterday. And that, of course, is RSL rumors to finalize a deal to sign for Chicho Arango from Pachuca. Now, obviously, this is a huge signing for RSL if they can get it, because we know how good Chicho Arango is. And again, LAFC, I still think this is gonna be something that they're gonna look back maybe the end of the season, that maybe it was a mistake of decided to let go of Chicho Arango, because again, Chicho Arango, I know that he hasn't had any that same success with Pachuca right now, but what he did with LAFC was just incredible. Like, he was a goal scoring machine. He basically scored every single game. And while that pain kind of have lessened for LAFC with the way that Denise Bawanga is basically taking that spot, I mean, I would say that, I still think that, as good as Denise Bawanga has been in terms of scoring goals for LAFC, if LAFC would have had both of those players in, I think they would have had enough to overcome that the deficit that they face against Leon. But now instead, it's RSL, the one that potentially is going to get, and it seems like it's going to be a record amount of fees, and it's well worth every single penny of it, because again, for RSL, it just feels like the missing piece of this team is that number 9 position, and now they get not just any number 9, but a number 9 that has been a proven goal scorer, probably one of the best and maybe the most underrated goal scorer in Chicho Arango. Yeah, this is a very big signing for RSL. When eventually when they do decide to finalize this deal. Now, speaking of striker, FC Cincinnati is also closing in signing a new striker. They're closing in signing Gambian international striker Aaron Bubit. Now, this is a guy that is currently playing in the Saudi Arabian league, but he previously had played in the Turkish league, and he was actually the top goal scorer in the Turkish league back in the 2020-21 season, which of course was the COVID season. And obviously for Cincinnati, knowing that they're moving on from Brenner, doing this summer transfer window with him going to Udinese, you knew that they had to make an replacement. And this is nothing against Don Baji, but you know that they desperately need a number 9 that is going to be similar quality as Brenner, and we'll see whether if this is going to be the case. I mean, in some way, they're actually spending less they got they're potentially going to get for him than when they decide to sell Brenner to Udinese, see, because I think they sold Brenner for like $10 million, and from what I heard, it seems like it's a $7 million transfer fee that FC Cincinnati is going to pay. So they still does get some net positive from that sale that they have for Brenner. But the question is, can he can he be just as good as Brenner? And again, Brenner, he was really good last season, and anytime when we see teams decide to sell off a player, that's obviously a good thing because that's what the league wants to do. But it's all about replacing their star players, and that is tougher as than what people think it is, and more times or not, though those replacement just hasn't really quite worked out, and we'll see whether or not if that's going to be the case with this deal, or if he's going to be just as good as Brenner, and they may even think about selling him off for some big sum of money in the near future. Now, Brazilian club Fortaleza is in advanced talk to acquire RSL attacker Jefferson Savarino. Now, this one doesn't make any sense because for RSL, it's pretty clear that Jefferson Savarino is the most important attacking piece for this team besides Demir Kralak, and that knowing the fact that ever since he's returned with RSL in his second stint, he's been their most lethal goal scorer on this team and assist maker. So it doesn't make any sense for RSL to decide to move on from Jefferson Savarino, unless if they think that Chicho Arango would be a good replacement, even though the kind of indirect replacement that is. So yeah, again, this kind of feels weird. I don't think this is going to happen unless if RSL is offer an insane amount that they can't not resist to decline it, and we'll see if that, of course, is the case. Now, Chivas is also close to bring back Alan Polito from Sporting KC, and it looks like they are going to pay an undisclosed transfer fee to get Alan Polito back to Chivas from Sporting KC. Now, this one I think kind of makes a little bit more sense because, as much as I know Alan Polito means a lot to that attack for Sporting KC, he's been having a problem in terms of staying healthy. And when you have a player that is injury riddled, as much as I know the talent is there from Alan Polito, it's got to be a headache for Sporting KC of seeing him being so injury prone ever since they acquire him. And I think it's to a point where they just need to cut their losses on that, or in this case, they're actually get that profit fit back. I mean, I think it was like 5.5 million that they of course got for Alan Polito back in 2019, or was it 2019 or 2018? It was one of those years, and that now that they maybe get some of that money back, despite the fact that Polito has, I think Polito, it's tough to say that has he live up to the expectation because again, with those injuries, problems that he's been having, it's hard to say that he has lived up to his expectation. I mean, I think he's a classic player of when he stays healthy, then he can be one of the best number 9 in this league. But that's the key word. If he can stay healthy, and more times or not, that has not been the case. And knowing the fact that Sporting KC, once they do get William Agata back, and maybe even in the summer transfer window, they might roll the dice again, trying to get themselves a number 9. I think they'll be fine if they decide to move on from Alan Polito, and especially from what I heard the offer, even though they said it's undisclosed, it seems like it's a very good amount that Sporting KC could get. I wouldn't be surprised they might think about accepting it during the summer transfer window. Now, moving on, and some injury news. NYCFC defender Thiago Martins, he's undergoing need scope procedure, and he's going to be out at least for 8 weeks. Now, they said it's actually 6 to 8 weeks before he get back to training, so I would say that's usually around 8 weeks or 10 weeks because it takes maybe about 2 or 3 weeks to get yourself back to match fitness after going through a bit of a bit to try to recover from an injury. But yeah, the good news for NYCFC is that anytime when you hear knee surgery, you worry that yeah, is he going to be done for the season? But it seems like it's just going to be a minor knee scope procedure that's not going to be keeping him out for very long, but still, it is long enough to a point where yeah, NYCFC just cannot afford injuries right now. They're paper thin in terms of their team, and that right now they're just trying to stay afloat in terms of waiting in the summer transfer window, where I expect NYCFC to be busy this summer transfer window because I mean with the way that I know there is quality in this team, but just the fact that they don't have any depth whatsoever. they have to get some reinforcement in this summer. And if they don't, I mean, I don't see how they're going to compete for a playoff position. And especially, I know they're going for a bit of a retool right now, but isn't the point of a retool is to try to bring some new players in? Because right now they just kind of gutted that team this off season and not being able to replace them. I mean, that's again, this is one of the rare time that I've seen CFG has really kind of whiffed on this decision. I mean, CFG has done a really good job in terms of building this NYCFC team to be a regular competitor. But this offseason, I think it's a bit of a swing and a miss with the way that they have not got that reinforcement that we thought that they were going to get when they decided to move on from some of the part of the core player that won them the MLS Cup just a couple of years ago. Now, CF Montreal has unveiled its new blue and black primary jersey, and unfortunately, I don't have my phone right now, so I can't really show you the new kit that they're going to be wearing for next season. But I've already seen it. It is absolutely beautiful. It really reminds me a little bit of the 2019 and the 2018 home kit that what it was called the Montreal Impact used to have. And knowing the new logo that they of course had, I mean it just makes perfect sense to bring it back. And that, yeah, when it does go on sale, I'm definitely looking forward to buying one, because I think Montreal is one of the few teams I still not have not had a jerseys. And the reason why I haven't got one right now is that I'm waiting for that new primary kit that they're gonna release. And I know this season they were supposed to release that, but they didn't release on time, and that's kind of provide a little bit of frustration, and also maybe just more pressure that they have to get this right. And I think they got it right in terms of this new blue and black jersey that Montreal is going to be wearing this season. Now, moving on. So just a quick word on Zlatan Ibrahimovic of the fact that he has officially announced his retirement. Yes, he's actually retired. I mean, I know some people think that it seems like he's never gonna be able to retire, or there's gonna be jokes saying that, yeah, football, or Zlatan Ibrahimovic ain't gonna miss football. Football is gonna miss him. What a career it's been for Zlatan. I mean, I think the way that Zlatan throughout his career, I think we might not see another individual that has that kind of egoistic kind of standpoint, and yet still perform at the highest level. I mean, he is just such a unique players that I don't think we're going to see another type of those players for a very long time. And that again, I'm also kind of blessed to actually see him play in person. Although I'm kind of glad that when the Quakes play against the Galaxy couple season ago, when Zlatan was it playing for the Galaxy, I will never forget the fact that one of our center back called Florian Youngworth would actually stop him and put him in the back pocket like that. That was, I mean, I know the back during that time, Zlatan was kind of started to near his twilight of his career. But and you don't say that to him with the way that he was still performing at a high rate when he decided to go back to Syria and join AC Milan. But yeah, obviously, I think he knew that father time has finally caught up to him. But just the longevity of his career, the fact that he's been able to play at such a peak level all the way up to the age of 41, that is something that again we don't usually see often. But we definitely won't see it with the egoistic kind of way where he's been talking big in terms of throughout his career, and yet he's still able to back it up by that. But that being said, moving on into the last couple of news. So as I mentioned earlier, I did want to talk about the U.S. Open Cup result, because besides those two MLS games that we had a couple of U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal matchup, and unfortunately, we don't really have any cup sets. In fact, the two remaining lower league teams did get eliminated in the quarterfinal. The Pittsburgh Riverhound weren't able to go on the road to Cincinnati to get the win, with Cincinnati winning 3-1 against Pittsburgh. But then the one that I think many people thought that it could potentially be a cup set between Birmingham Legion and Inter Miami. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, as Inter Miami won 1-0 in that one. Though there was a very controversial handball in that one that probably should have been a penalty for Birmingham Legion. But I have a feeling something tells me Don Gabber must have told those U.S. Open Cup referee that don't you dare to to not give Inter Miami the win, especially with the announcement of Lionel Messi, and that there could be still a possibility he could actually play in this U.S. Open Cup. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure Don Gabber is making sure in every ways, and also the referees are making sure that Inter Miami will be able to play in the semifinal, and then we will have Messi and the gang play against FC Cincinnati. But in the other U.S. Open Cup resort, we have the Houston Dynamo pull off probably the most impressive road win that they have in a while with a 4-1 road win against the Chicago Fire. Now, this game also featured a bit of a controversial call where the Fire probably should have got a penalty in the first half, but it wasn't given, and that kind of changed the competition with the Dynamo winning 4-1 in this one. But like I said, I mentioned that was probably one of the most impressive victory that the Dynamo has had, because this has been a problem for the Dynamo this season. They struggle in terms of playing on the road, but on that night, that was not the case, as they really took down against a Chicago Fire team that I thought that they really put all their eggs in the basket in this competition, and it did not work out. And then in the other resort, we got RSL winning 3-2 against the LA Galaxy. And in terms of the semi-final draw, we'll have FC Cincinnati taking on Inter Miami. And then we have RSL taking on the Houston Dynamo. Now, from what I also have heard about the final hosting priorities, looks like RSL will be number one in terms of that list. So if you're an RSL fan, that's got to be great news. You get to host the U.S. Open Cup final at the Riot and potentially winning their first ever U.S. Open Cup. And then after that, you got Inter Miami as the second host, because of course, you knew I think the thing that they try to make it less rake in terms of the hosting priority is not put Inter Miami at number one, because I swear if Inter Miami was actually at number one, everybody will say the hosting priority is raked because of the fact that they want Messi to be playing in the final and able to play at home. But they picked RSL as number one, Inter Miami as number two, FC Cincinnati as number three, and unfortunately for the Houston Dynamo, yeah, they have no shots in terms of hosting the U.S. Open Cup final this year, being the fourth in that allocated spot. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how the U.S. Open Cup is going to look in terms of the semifinal. Again, the semifinal doesn't happen until late August, which means that there's a chance where Messi he could still play in this competition, play against FC Cincinnati. That, of course, if Messi is going to get all the paperwork done, and he could be debuting as soon as the opening League Cup game against Cruz Azul in July. Now, in terms of the Canadian Championship final, we have the Vancouver Whitecaps winning 2-1 against Montreal. Vancouver were up 2-0. Montreal did kind of made it a little interesting, but eventually the Whitecaps hangs on. And I think it's fair to say that the Whitecaps deserve to win, considering they have been by far the best Canadian team so far this season. And also, this game is at BC Place. Like, when I found out this game was at BC Place, yeah, I had a feeling Montreal was not going to get this win, considering they have struggled on the road. If this was at Stade Saputo, I think the opposite could happen. I mean, I feel like coming into this game, it's all about who's going to get a chance to host the final, and they have the upper hand. And Vancouver, of course, gets the nod of hosting this final, and it's not a big surprise they were able to walk away with the Canadian Championship trophy. That's now back-to-back years that they have won the Canadian Championship, and consider this team have only won it once prior to last year. That's got to be an impressive feat for Vanni Sartini, and now the Whitecaps another chance to go to the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That's going to happen next season. And you notice I said the word CONCACAF Champions Cup, because moving on into the last news of the week, CCL is no longer the name of the CONCACAF Premier Club competition, as CONCACAF have announced that they have rebranded their cup competition to the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and in some way they're kind of bringing back that name, because that used to be the name before they rebranded to the CONCACAF Champions League. And it will also feature 51 team in a knockout style tournament, which is going to be similar to CCL that we had, where the only difference is you get like a first round knockout, and then you get the traditional kind of final round of 16, and then for the final, they mentioned that it's actually just going to be a one leg hit final, and they haven't mentioned exactly how the host is going to be decided for that one legged final. I'm assuming they maybe think about doing something that the League Cup is doing, which is basically hosting the final at certain plays. And if that is, of course, is the case, Las Vegas is probably going to be the number one choice that they're going to choose in terms of hosting the final of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, because isn't the League Cup hosting or the League Cup is going to be, the final is going to be in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it feels like CONCACAF really love Vegas or Los Angeles as the place to host their final. And yeah, you know, over overall, when you look at this, I mean, the criticism in terms of this new competition, well, it's not really a new competition, but just a rebrand, is the fact that pretty much you're gonna get at least 15 teams that's gonna be coming from Liga MX and MLS, and that's just too much for a competition that they want to be a little bit more. They want to show more variety and be more diverse in terms of giving these team in Central America and even in the Caribbean a chance to play in it. But in reality, that is just not the case. In fact, they're putting even fewer amount of Central American and Caribbean team in that. They did add a couple of Canadian Premier League team into the CONCACAF Champions League too, which I'd love to see, or in this case, the CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's gonna take a time for me to get used to the new name, but yeah, overall, that's gonna be how CCC is going to look like, or some people would just say the triple C is going to look like next season, and it's going to be interesting to see how the competition is going to look like. And also, somewhere in the distance, the Seattle Sounders fans will basically said that, so we're still going to be remaining as the only team to win the CONCACAF Champions League because of the rebrand that's just happened a couple of days ago. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news? And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.